Hello, thank you very much for your time today. My name is Pablo Borges, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about ProducePay. ProducePay is a payment platform that connects lenders, farmers, and distributors in order to provide financing and liquidity for the produce industry. But why does the produce industry need something like ProducePay in the first place? Well, in order to better understand that, we need to look at each of the players individually. Fresh produce farmers harvest for 2 to 3 months out of the year. Yet during that time, their machinery, equipment, but most importantly, their labor costs soar. So much so that these 2 to 3 months represent 70% of their total annual cash flows. Yet while farmers pay their cost on a weekly and sometimes even daily basis in the case of labor, they themselves are not paid until 45 to 60 days later, which means that farmers incur in very big liquidity problems. This is where fresh produce distributors come in. Fresh produce distributors sell on what is called a consignment basis. That is, they don't buy and sell the product, but actually sell on behalf of the farmer and make an 8 to 10% commission upon sale. The problem, though, is that the industry has shifted over the past 2 decades and it has now become a pay-to-play business. In that distributors now need to pay 30 to 40% advance in order to get the right to move the product in the first place. Now, what does that mean? That means that distributors now ran the farmer's credit risk, but most importantly, they are now strapped in that they can only move as much product as they can finance, as opposed to as much product as they could effectively move. What about traditional lending institutions? Well, the short-term, high-spike nature of this individual farmer liquidity needs is not really up to banks' risk-return profile. Ultimately, what ends up happening is that less than 1% of the total U.S. loan portfolio goes to agriculture, and farmers are hugely underbanked. This is where ProducePay comes in. ProducePay has created a 3-party communication and transaction system that ultimately allows farmers to ship on an everyday basis and cross-references that data with prevailing market values for these daily commodities and actually assigns monetary values to these shipments, allowing the lenders to be able to finance the farmers on the value of these shipments. Alternatively, because we're connected with the distributors, we actually get to channel all the proceeds of sale from this produce. So all the proceeds flow through us, and we can then pay the lenders back before we give the remainder of the money back to the farmers. So essentially, we've managed to implement a financial institution, and we've managed to give them first priority over collection, something that they've never before had in this industry. So in a nutshell, what does ProducePay do? ProducePay gives farmers next-day liquidity for their product. It removes any and all financial burdens from distributors. It allows banks and other lending institutions to access this huge untapped market of portfolio of farmers. They still collect directly from distributors. They have first priority over collection without having to work with any single farmer directly because ProducePay handles all the allocation of funds and all the recollection. A bit about the industry itself. In 2013, the US alone consumed 92.4 billion pounds of fresh produce. These represented $55 billion worth of transactions for farmers alone. 46% of these were produced domestically, but 54% of these were imported. Our system, as it already exists today, allows us to tackle $36 billion out of the $55 billion industry. But how do we intend to go about it? Well, very early on, we partnered with a $700 million distribution partner out on the West Coast, and they agreed to give, and they've already started actually because we've launched, they've started giving $20 million worth of transactions for year 1 alone. As we successfully take these on, they will allow us to take on incremental portions of their portfolio as we successfully expand and standardize our services. By the end of year 4, beginning of year 5, we'll have enough users and a diversified enough service line that will actually expand our system to allow these players to connect with one another and essentially start trading, which ultimately means that we will expand to become an online marketplace. A bit about the team itself. I was born and raised in a 4th-generation farming family, so I've been seeing the nuances and pain points that farmers see their entire life. After college, I was recruited by a Los Angeles-based U.S. produce distributor, and my job was to handle the grower relations, both in the U.S. and South America. This distribution partner came along to become our distribution partner now in ProducePay, and we also partner with CoVenture, a software development company for our current software development and the ones to come. A bit about the timeline, and to spend a little bit of time here. Over the past year, we've managed to get every single one of the partnerships we needed to make this a successful and sustainable venture. Beyond the software development partnership, we managed to get a 100-year-old company who handles $700 million worth of produce to actually see the value in our company and partner with us. As of March 19th of last year, we launched our system and transacted with real produce. We're very happy to see that while we expected to get 20% annualized return on our shipment, given the fact that we were able to speed up the recollection time, we're actually able to get 47% return on our payments, which of course led us to be able to look for more flexible lending entities. And as of the end of last month, we finalized terms for a new $20 million lending entity that would be fully owned and managed by ProducePay. I won't spend any time going into the financials right now. I'm very happy to do though afterwards. I'll be around the atrium. I'd rather spend whatever time we have left to show a quick video that we prepared for farmers.
Farmers around the world face a common question. How quickly can I get paid after shipping my crops? When harvest arrives, the time between shipping your product and getting paid is an extended waiting period that introduces uncertainty, stress, and risk. Labor, machinery, and equipment all require constant cash flow, and sometimes the wait for cash is simply too long. ProducePay solves this problem. ProducePay is a new financial technology that improves cash management throughout distribution channels, allowing growers to receive cash for their goods the very next day. ProducePay also presents growers with enhanced information and analytics. It can track volume and sales, improve transparency, and provide insight for future shipments. ProducePay works on behalf of growers to improve crucial aspects of their harvest by providing immediate access to funds, detailed analytics, and transparency throughout the supply chain. ProducePay, making a tough job just a little bit easier.
Thank you very much for your time.